Many women leaders are told that being authentic at work means showing up as their true selves, being open, honest, and real with their teams. But they're also told to be strong and direct if they want to be taken seriously. They want to believe that if they lead with authenticity, people will naturally trust and respect them. But here's the thing, authenticity isn't always received the way it's intended. It can become the stress test that reveals whether your leadership presence can hold up under pressure, or whether your survival instinct starts running the show. That's exactly what happened to one senior leader I coached. She valued relationships deeply and believed she was being her authentic self, but her team saw her as intimidating and her peers didn't trust her. And in this episode, you're going to hear how one simple change rebuilt trust with her colleagues, so you can show up as your authentic self without fear of being misunderstood or rejected. Welcome to Drama-Free Teams, the show for leaders who care deeply and want their teams to thrive without the drama. I'm your host, Dr. Annie Campanile. Let's shift how you lead so you can stop dreading conflict and start driving results. As an executive coach in health systems for the last 20 years, I've coached so many senior leaders, especially women, who have had the same concern that they couldn't really be themselves and succeed as leaders. Or they were worried and confused because, on the one hand, they had been promoted and praised for being clear, direct communicators who had steady emotions and solid leadership presence. But then, on the other hand, sometimes they got into trouble because they were told they were intimidating or unapproachable. And they thought, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm just being myself. What's the problem? I believe that gender bias is real and it definitely needs to change. I also believe that sometimes strong women leaders who are labeled as bossy or intimidating are acting out of survival mode. They might just be in fight mode when they're communicating. It's not that they're too strong, it's that they're being defensive. And that's the problem. If this is you listening, you absolutely can be a strong, direct communicator as long as you regulate your nervous system. This goes for any gender, but in particular, I'm talking about women leaders because there's such a conundrum when you're a women leader. You want to be sensitive, yet you want to be strong. You want to have credibility, and you want to be authentic. So how can you know when it's safe to be your authentic self at work and it won't be used against you? Well, first, it's really important to know what is your authentic self. How do you know when you're being authentic? My very simple definition is that your authentic self is who you are when you are not in survival mode. That's it. It's pretty simple. Your authentic self is who you are when you're not in survival mode. You're being honest. You're not speaking in code or saying what you think the other person wants to hear because you're afraid of what they might say or how they might react. You're not in pleasing mode. You're just being yourself. When we calm our nervous systems, we're not in fight, flight, freeze, or please, then we're making decisions based from our authentic preferences, our authentic feelings, our authentic ideas. And it's so much easier because our decisions are not based on fear. So therefore, we're not inspiring fear in others. Isn't that cool? It sounds really simple. And I understand that it doesn't feel simple because there are lots of triggers for fear all the time, especially at work. And especially if you've been given feedback, like so many of my clients, that you're either too emotional or you're not emotional enough, or you're too direct or you're not direct enough. It can start to feel like you're just not enough. This challenge comes up so often in my executive coaching practice that if you're a client of mine listening, you might think the upcoming story is about you. But I promise this time I created a story that is a combination, a completely hypothetical story based on lots and lots of different clients that I've coached over the years. Frances was a chief officer who came to me for coaching because she was on the cusp of either losing her job or choosing to leave her job. And she really didn't know how to see a different path, even though she really liked her job. She was a senior leader in a hospital where she had worked for 25 years. She had built her career in this hospital, and for many, many years, she had been considered a mentor to other leaders. But recently, her employee surveys scores were declining, and more complaints were being lodged against her saying that she was intimidating. And the vice presidents and directors who reported to her said she was unapproachable, and they said they didn't feel safe being honest with her because she was demeaning toward them. So she was really confused this day when she came to coaching. She said, I have the best of intentions. I don't know why people feel this way. I'm very open. I love relationships. I want to mentor people. Frances started explaining a fellow chief officer had just told her he didn't trust her. And I noticed her body language changing and her shoulders climbing up to her ears. I noticed her jaw starting to clench and signs that she might be going into that fight or flight mode. And I said, let's pause for a second. What are you noticing about your body right now? She took a breath. She said, I can feel my shoulders up at my ears. I have a lot of muscles that are getting tight. I know that my fists are clenching and I feel like I'm preparing to defend myself. So then I encouraged her to take another breath and maybe shake out her arms. Recognize she was just with me in a coaching session. She was safe. And then I asked her, when you're at work, how often would you say you feel like you need to be prepared to defend yourself? She didn't even need to pause. Really quickly, she said, all the time. I always feel like I need to be prepared to fight, especially now because I keep getting this critical feedback. And I feel like if I share my authentic self, if I have any vulnerability, it's going to be used against me. And as she talked, I could hear the anger in her voice. I could see in her eyes a little bit of tearfulness. So behind the anger, there was also some sadness, which is completely understandable. It feels terrible to feel like we can't be ourselves and to feel like we're being rejected. She said, I was told that my boldness and my direct communication and confidence were what got me into this role. The board likes that I'm clear. My boss told me that my emotional steadiness was exactly what they wanted. But now I'm being told I'm not emotional enough and I'm not approachable. I just don't get it. Frances thought that she was being her authentic self because she knew she valued relationships and she was staying connected to that mentally, but she wasn't really staying connected to her nervous system. She was always prepared to defend herself. So those are two completely different things. We can't help other people feel safe with us if we don't feel safe in our own body. This isn't often talked about by other leadership speakers. It's starting to get a little more traction, and I hope it gets a lot more. Your ability to regulate your nervous system is your number one secret to being a successful leader and also a happy leader who has energy at the end of the day and who's able to have healthy boundaries and be your authentic self without fear. A lot of leadership advice says that authenticity is about being open and honest and guided by your values. And I do agree with that, but only partially. My point of view is that even if you're driven by your values, and even if you are in touch with what you truly believe, if you're in survival mode, if you're triggered and reactive, you can't be your authentic self. So whether you're a woman leader who's very much in touch with your emotional sensitivity, and you worry that revealing that sensitivity will cause people not to take you seriously, or you're not so emotional and you're worried that coming across as too stiff or too cold will cause people to think you don't care, what I'm here to tell you is that you absolutely can be your authentic self as long as you manage your nervous system and stay out of survival mode. So how do you do that? I could give you new activities, but you know what I've learned from messages I keep receiving from listeners? Repetition is helpful. So let me remind you of the sunshine exercise. The sunshine exercise can be your go-to resource when you feel yourself going into fight or flight and you want to calm down your nervous system quickly so that you can regain your composure and feel safe to be your authentic self, even at work. Here's how the sunshine exercise works. You can do it with me right now. First, place a hand on the center of your chest. Use the amount of pressure that feels good to you. If you're not driving, close your eyes or look down to avoid distraction. Now, take a nice full breath and let it out fully. And bring to your mind the image of the most beautiful golden sunlight, as if you are in a wonderful sunbeam. Imagine it cannot burn you. It's never going to be too hot. It's your favorite temperature. As you keep breathing fully, imagine that the golden sunshine is filling your body. Every cell in your body is being covered and embraced by this beautiful, warm sunshine. As you inhale, you're bringing in the sunshine. And as you exhale, imagine it's flowing all the way through your body, down through the soles of your feet, into the earth. The sunshine exercise is a really quick way to connect to the present moment and allow your nervous system to regulate itself. It's so great. When you find yourself becoming fearful or defensive or anxious, you don't have to do anything to force that to relax or to force yourself to feel safe. If you just give your mind a distraction, like the sunshine exercise, something that feels better, that feels safe, your nervous system will naturally regulate itself and come down from that survival state. The sunshine exercise also can be great to practice before a tense meeting or a difficult conversation or a presentation that you feel a little nervous about. That is what is going to help you be your authentic self, because you will go into those meetings and conversations with a grounded, calm nervous system. You won't carry that intense fear of being rejected because you'll be more grounded in who you really are, and you'll feel safe sharing that. You can be emotional. You can be direct. You can be commanding, because you also will be able to make room for other people to share their emotions and to share their ideas, and you won't feel threatened by it because you will not be in survival. Isn't that awesome? Everybody gets to be themselves when we're not in survival mode. It all relies on you staying regulated in your nervous system and then making a choice to invite other people's perspectives. Then your presence as a leader inspires trust. For an even deeper dive into authentic presence, download my free masterclass on executive presence. There's a link in today's show notes, and it will give you some great tips and fun exercises that you can apply right away to command respect while being your true self. The next episode is coming out right around the time lots of different holidays occur, when drama can escalate for your teams and all the people they care for, whether they're in a trauma-filled industry like healthcare or another field. So I'm going to share the 4 things that drive all conflict and give you my number 1 secret for how to resolve it, even if the conflict has been going on for years. It might seem strange, but resolving conflict is like my favorite thing to do. So join me next time and I will take the fear out of conflict resolution. Until then, I'm Dr. Annie Campanile, reminding you that thriving in leadership is possible and you don't have to do it alone. See you next time.